During a visit to the palace, Camilla's son's trunk was opened, and what happened next stunned everyone in the palace.
Buckingham Palace has been thrown into chaos after royal guards reportedly raided Queen Camilla's private estate in a shocking late-night operation. According to palace insiders, the raid led to a jaw-dropping discovery: the recovery of the late Queen's long-lost jewelry, missing since her passing. The revelation has sent shockwaves through the monarchy, sparking urgent questions about how such priceless treasures ended up hidden away. Was this a royal misunderstanding or a scandal in the making? Today, we uncover the stunning truth behind this royal jewelry raid. The hidden trail of the missing jewels. The royal guard did not knock. They did not call ahead. They arrived at Duchess Camilla's private estate under the cover of darkness, their orders sealed with the unmistakable crest of royal authority. This was no polite inspection. This was a raid, swift and silent. Within minutes, the gates were opened, the halls searched, and hidden safes unlocked. What they found inside would shake the royal household to its core. Priceless pieces of the crown jewels, never meant to leave Windsor's vaults, tucked away where no one was supposed to look. Someone with access, power, and daring had been preparing to sell them, quietly and forever. The jewels had been reclassified in the official archives, disguised as part of a temporary preservation transfer. A clever trick for anyone not paying attention. But the royal guard was paying attention. Acting on a discreet alert from the royal archives, they seized the pieces without hesitation and logged them back into crown custody. Camilla herself appeared at the height of the operation, demanding an explanation as armed officers carried velvet-lined boxes out of her drawing room. Her voice trembled, not from fear, but fury. Yet before she could intervene further, the deep hum of a helicopter swept over the estate. Prince William had arrived. He didn't come for the ceremony, he came to make sure the crown's property returned home. His presence silenced the courtyard. The guards saluted. The Duchess stood frozen as the future King of England stepped onto her lawn, his expression unreadable. This was no ordinary night. It wasn't just about diamonds or heirlooms, it was about memory, trust, and history itself. The monarchy wasn't losing control, it was reclaiming it. The first sign of trouble had appeared weeks earlier, deep within the secure data logs of Windsor's legacy chamber. Sergeant Nathan Corbin, an archivist with decades of quiet service, noticed a single, blinking line of text on his monitor. Temp, relock, QLPD 192. No alarms, no red flags, just a whisper in the system. But to Nathan, it didn't look right. The authorization code belonged to an archivist who'd left the post 2 years earlier. Curious, he opened the file. The item in question, a sapphire pendant once belonging to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. The record showed it had been temporarily relocated to a company called Albemarle Heritage Consultants for off-site display curation. Nathan frowned. The entry was nonsense. He'd seen that pendant before. The Queen had worn it during Prince Philip's memorial service. It had never been loaned, never scheduled for exhibition. Digging deeper, he uncovered 3 more anomalies: an emerald coronet, a coronation brooch, and a pearl choker once owned by the Queen Mother, all rerouted through the same dead referral code, all transferred to Norfolk. Nathan's stomach turned. The chamber around him felt colder, the silence heavier. He remembered the Queen's words during a private inspection years ago. "These aren't just jewels, Sergeant. They're stories. They don't belong to me, they belong to what comes after." Now someone has tried to erase those stories for profit, and that was something the monarchy could not allow. But the real question remains: who inside the royal circle had the power to make those transfers appear legitimate? And if the Queen's jewels could vanish unnoticed once, how many more secrets are still hidden behind palace walls? The first clues of the hidden theft. The first signs of something deeply wrong inside the royal archives appeared quietly. No alarms, no headlines, just a faint inconsistency buried in the old records. It began with a single name and a signature, written in fading ink. On a calm morning, the sun filtered through stained glass windows high above, scattering colors across the marble floor and the empty pedestals where priceless heirlooms once stood. Nathan Corbin stood alone in the quiet chamber, flipping through the hard-copy ledger, a relic of tradition in a digital age. His fingers traced the familiar loops of royal handwriting until he reached Section 4. There it was. Signature, E2R, the late Queen's mark, written 3 years before her passing. A chill crept through him. Nathan was no alarmist, but experience had sharpened his instincts. These weren't routine transfers or curatorial loans. The Crown's private treasures were disappearing. Items were being relocated, yet their destinations were blank or false. The language looked official enough, sealed with stamps and codes, but the meaning was clear. This wasn't administration. It was theft, dressed in royal formality. Determined to confirm his fears, Nathan sought out Lady Caroline Whitby, a veteran curator whose loyalty to the monarchy was as old as the archives themselves. They met in a forgotten reading room, a quiet refuge lined with dust-covered ledgers and aging portraits. Caroline's brow furrowed when Nathan slid the file toward her. Without a word, she rose and locked the heavy wooden door. Her eyes scanned the pages with growing unease. "Crates left Windsor 12 days apart," she murmured. "No press coverage, no customs trail, no security logs. The trail dies at Sandringham." Nathan nodded grimly. The transfer code Albemarle was retired when the Queen died. Someone reactivated it without permission. Caroline's gaze hardened. "You think Camilla's involved?" "I think her estate is receiving royal jewelry that never should have left these walls," he replied. For a long moment, silence pressed in around them. Then Caroline opened a hidden drawer and drew out a slim black folder. Inside lay a plain business card with no crest, no rank, just a name. Inspector Ruel Chudori, Metropolitan Police Heritage Unit. "Tell him I sent you," she said quietly. "And Nathan, be careful. You're stepping into something people will kill to keep secret. Because if jewels tied to the late Queen could vanish so easily, what else inside the monarchy has already been stolen, and by whom? Stay tuned. The investigation deepens inside Scotland Yard." The evening air outside Scotland Yard was cold and sharp when Inspector Ruel Chudori met Nathan Corbin by a side entrance. No uniform, no badge, just a dark wool coat, calm authority, and eyes that seemed to register every flicker of movement. "Lady Whitby said you had concerns," he said simply. Nathan handed him a stack of printed manifests. "I've got missing inventory, fake shipping records, and a consultancy that doesn't exist on any government or royal vendor list." Chudori scanned the documents with the precision of someone who had seen this sort of deception before. "These codes look familiar," he murmured. 2 years ago, we investigated private artifacts from Balmoral and pieces turning up in Geneva auction houses. The case disappeared quietly. No arrests. The palace discouraged further digging. Nathan's jaw set. "Well, this time, we won't back down." For the next hour, they sat side by side under the dim light of a small office, cross-referencing Windsor clearance codes against off-site shipping records. Each new match confirmed chilling pattern crates, labeled as household memorabilia, had been quietly moved through the rear docks, escorted by civilian contractors. From there, they were redirected under Norfolk Estate clearances, a division tied directly to Camilla's private holdings, kept separate from official Crown property. One name appeared over and over on every form: L. R. Meredith, a heritage logistics consultant with a spotless resume and a suspicious history. Previous contracts with private collectors in Monaco and Dubai. Nathan finally asked, "Do I have grounds for action?" Chudori nodded slowly. "You've got enough for a review warrant. But if this gets political, you'll be shut down before the ink dries." Nathan tucked the evidence folder into his coat and stood. "Then I'll brief the Crown before it becomes political." He left Scotland Yard not just with documents, but with certainty. The Queen's personal heirlooms were being stripped from Windsor and funneled into private hands, piece by piece. That night, Nathan entered the wood-paneled conference room of Clarence House. No modern screens, just an antique table, a bronze bust of King George IV, and a grandfather clock ticking through centuries of royal decisions. Across from him, Colonel James Stretton removed his glasses, his tone grave. "You're absolutely certain about the provenance?" Nathan nodded. The pendant, coronet, and brooch, all logged under Queen Elizabeth's personal custody. None cleared for transfer. None even on the registry. Stretton's gaze hardened. "Then God help us, Nathan. Someone inside the Crown is selling its soul, and we may already be too late to stop them." The Crown's hidden crisis comes to light. Nathan Corbin stood at the far end of the long oak table, the dim light of Clarence House's conference room glinting off brass fixtures and polished wood. "I verified everything against the original handwritten ledgers, each one signed by the Queen herself," he said steadily. The pages had smelled faintly of ink and age, the late monarch's signature a reminder of duty that stretched beyond death. Across from him, Colonel James Stretton adjusted his reading glasses, eyes narrowing as he studied the thick evidence folder. "And you're certain the missing pieces are at the Norfolk estate?" "Yes, sir," Nathan replied. "They were shipped under falsified documentation, labeled as household inventory, by a contractor with known ties to black market auctions. It's deliberate, sir. Calculated." The colonel's voice dropped low. "Does His Majesty know?" "Not yet, sir." A soft knock broke the tension. The steward opened the door just enough to step aside, and Prince William entered. His quiet presence filled the room with authority. He didn't speak immediately. He only looked, first at Stretton, then at Nathan, then at the folder that seemed to hum with dangerous secrets. "Sergeant Corbin?" he said evenly. "I'm told you have something urgent." Nathan stood, presenting the folder. William didn't take it yet. His gaze remained fixed. "How long have you been assigned to the Legacy Chamber?" 7 years, sir. Her Majesty appointed me personally." William's voice softened. "And in your professional opinion, what are we facing here?" Nathan met his eyes without hesitation. "Sir, it's more than theft. It erased someone's attempt to rewrite the Crown's history by removing its proof." For a long moment, no one spoke. Then William opened the folder and read each page slowly, his face hardening with every line. When he closed it, his tone carried resolve. "Colonel, how fast can we form a discreet retrieval team?" 12 hours, Your Royal Highness. 10 personnel, plain clothes. 3 with heritage clearance." William nodded. "No uniforms, no publicity, no scandal. We handle this ourselves. Sergeant, you'll lead identification." As the prince left, his last words lingered. "This isn't just about jewels. It's about trust." Nathan looked down at the folder, heart pounding. If trust within the Crown could be broken this easily. But how deep did the betrayal truly run? Keep watching. Operation Northolt, the mission no one could know about. From the outside, the aircraft hangar at RAF Northolt looked like nothing special, just another aging building hidden behind outdated radar towers and dusty Ministry of Defense vehicles. But on that cold, gray Tuesday morning, the old hangar became the center of the most secret royal operation in decades. Inside, under the harsh white glare of overhead lights, a single folding table stood between 2 sand-colored Land Rovers. On the table sat a slim briefcase bearing the Privy Council seal, a document tube containing the retrieval warrant, and 6 black folders, each neatly labeled with operational call signs and mission parameters. Everything about the setup was stripped down and discreet. No banners, no ranks, no ceremony. At the head of the table stood Colonel James Stretton, posture unyielding, flanked by 2 plainclothed officers from the Metropolitan Police Heritage Unit. No insignia, no introductions, only quiet focus. Each person in the room understood the weight of what they were about to do. Nathan Corbin arrived last, dressed in civilian clothes pulled over tactical gear, the same evidence folder in hand that had started the entire chain of events. Around him, royal guards, men who usually carried ceremonial swords, not encrypted radios, checked their equipment with silent precision. Stretton spoke in his usual clipped tone. "Each of you has been briefed individually. You're not law enforcement officers today, you're recovery specialists. This isn't a criminal investigation. It's an internal correction under Crown authority." He placed one hand on the sealed warrant. "You're acting on direct orders from the Prince of Wales, under sovereign prerogative. No media, no leaks, no mistakes." The room echoed with the quiet rustle of uniforms as the team nodded in agreement. Nathan recognized Corporal Hamzadar, an old comrade from Afghanistan. They exchanged a brief shoulder clasp, wordless reassurance forged in shared chaos. Nearby, Inspector Ruel Choudhury finished syncing body cameras to the encrypted system in the command vehicle. "Continuous documentation," he muttered. "If this goes sideways, we'll need evidence we did it right." "How sideways could it go?" one guard asked. Choudhury gave a grim smile. "When you corner people with power, they either surrender quietly or fight like hell." Nathan loaded sealed evidence containers into the back of his Land Rover. He'd seen combat before, but this was different. They weren't heading into enemy territory. They were going into the Queen Consort's private estate to recover stolen memories, jewels that had seen coronations, wars, and family tears. As engines rumbled to life, one thought haunted Nathan. If these walls could hide stolen history this easily, what else inside the monarchy was still waiting to be uncovered? Where secrets slept beneath elegance. The small communications room hummed with quiet energy as one of the officers handed Nathan a discreet earpiece. "Frequency check." "Clear reception," Nathan replied, adjusting the tiny device. "Estate access codes unchanged since the Queen's last inspection." Colonel Stretton lifted a gloved hand. "Move out." The convoy rolled from the hangar with silent precision. 3 Land Rovers and an unmarked civilian vehicle. Engines low, headlights dimmed. No flashing lights, no chatter, just the steady hum of determination. Every man and woman in that line of vehicles understood the truth. Once history is lost, no amount of power or money could buy it back. And tonight, they were running out of time to stop that loss. Camilla's Norfolk estate rose before them like something out of country life. Wrought iron gates twined with roses, hedges trimmed to perfection, and limestone walls half covered in ivy, the kind that looked wild but was carefully maintained to seem effortless. It was beauty with intent, the kind that hid more than it revealed. But Nathan wasn't here to admire the view. His trained eyes mapped the terrain like a blueprint, tracking security cameras, calculating blind spots, noting that the Western Service Road remained unmonitored, just as the classified schematics had promised. The estate had once been part of the Queen's larger Sandringham holdings, but Camilla had expanded it into something grander and more secretive. New underground chambers, heavily secured preservation galleries, and soundproof storage wings. Officially, it was her private retreat. Unofficially, it was a vault for something far more valuable. As planned, the convoy split into 3 units. Inspector Choudhury's team advanced toward the main entrance, while Nathan's group circled to the service wing, using the old royal access codes. The 3rd vehicle parked along the bridle path, ready for rapid evidence transport. At exactly 6:02 p.m., Choudhury pressed the ornate brass bell. An elderly steward opened the door, his gray waistcoat immaculate, but his expression startled. "Her Majesty isn't in residence," he stammered. "That's not required," Choudhury replied, showing the sealed royal warrant. "This is a heritage protection action under royal prerogative. Cooperation would be appreciated." Meanwhile, Nathan approached the service door and entered 1952, the year Elizabeth ascended the throne. The keypad light turned green. The heavy door opened with a soft click, releasing the faint scent of lemon oil and cold stone. He and Corporal Daw moved silently through the corridor, two logistics officers close behind carrying reinforced museum containers. The staff they encountered didn't resist, only stared in confusion, unaware that their tranquil evening had just become a historic reckoning. As Nathan advanced deeper into the estate's shadowed halls, one question burned in his mind. What other royal secrets might be hidden behind those polished walls, waiting to be unearthed? Stay glued to your screen. The Gallery of Shadows, where legacy was displayed, like loot. The quiet of the East hallway broke when a young curator, barely past his university years, stepped nervously into their path. His voice trembled, though he tried to sound authoritative. "You can't just walk in here. These are the Queen Consort's private collections." Nathan's tone stayed calm, but carried the weight of command. "They're crown artifacts under sovereign protection. Please step aside." For a heartbeat, the curator hesitated, then obeyed, hands trembling as he moved aside, the realization of what was happening dawning slowly across his face. The team advanced deeper into the estate, reaching what had once been a carriage house, now transformed into a sealed, climate-controlled gallery. The air was cool and sterile, heavy with the faint hum of preservation systems. Brass vault doors lined the walls, each one marked with a small, engraved plaque. Nathan scanned the numbers on his tablet until his eyes fixed on one inscription. Gallery 3, Royal Heritage Collection. He exchanged a glance with Corporal Daw. "This is it," Nathan murmured. "Any alarms?" Daw whispered. "We're about to find out." Nathan entered the code sequence. The brass vault door released with a soft mechanical sigh. As it opened, white LED lights spilled out, illuminating a scene that made everyone freeze in disbelief. Inside, the vault was arranged like a private museum. Polished display cases, professional lighting, handwritten placards in elegant script. It wasn't storage. It was a presentation. In the center, under a glass dome, the Queen's sapphire pendant glowed like a captured flame. Nearby, the coronation brooch gleamed from a slow-turning display mount. The emerald coronet, once worn at Commonwealth gatherings, rested in a custom velvet cradle. Each piece was labeled with care, each one stripped of its royal meaning. Nathan felt his chest tighten. This wasn't preservation, it was commercialization, the slow, silent selling of history. His gaze locked on the sapphire pendant, identical to how he remembered it that winter morning when Queen Elizabeth wore it for Princess Anne's memorial address. He had stood just behind her then, adjusting her veil, watching the gem catch the cathedral light. Now it sat beneath perfect lighting again, but this time its placard read simply, "Mid-20th century sapphire and diamond pendant, private collection." The words felt like a betrayal. To Nathan, it wasn't just jewelry on display. It was the heart of the monarchy, stolen and repackaged for someone else's pride. As he stared at the treasures laid bare, one thought chilled him more than the air itself. If this was only one vault, what else might they find hidden behind the others? This story is far from over. The man behind the vault. Every artifact in the vault told the same story, relabeled, repackaged, and stolen. Behind Nathan, Corporal Daw gave a low whistle. "Jesus," he muttered. "It's like robbing a memory." Nathan didn't answer. He knelt beside the display cases, photographing each item through the glass. His body camera captured every timestamp and inventory code, evidence strong enough to stand before a court. Then a voice sliced through the cold air. "That's quite far enough." They turned. A man in an expensive navy suit entered, silver cufflinks gleaming beneath the gallery lights. His leather portfolio and smooth composure spoke of someone used to dealing in high-value secrets. "L.R. Meredith," he said sharply. "Heritage Preservation Specialist. You're interfering with an authorized archival review. These pieces are under professional custody." Nathan straightened, calm but firm. "Under whose authority?" "Her Majesty, the Queen Consort." Meredith replied, pulling out a letter stamped with Camilla's royal crest. Nathan didn't even glance at it. Instead, he unfolded his own document, a retrieval warrant sealed by the Privy Council. "Under sovereign authority," he said quietly, "signed by the Prince of Wales. These are crown artifacts, not private property." For the first time, Meredith's expression faltered. "This isn't a courtroom, Sergeant." "No," Nathan replied, stepping closer. "But it's about to become evidence for one." Meredith's jaw tensed. His eyes flicked toward the door, calculating whether to call for help. Nathan didn't give him the chance. "Document everything," he ordered. "Photograph each display. Secure every artifact. No delays." The team moved with quiet precision. Daw began at the coronet case, while others prepared temperature-controlled containers, designed to preserve priceless relics in motion. The vault filled with a soft rhythm of clicks and clasps, the sound of stolen history being reclaimed. Nathan's gaze lingered on the Queen's sapphire pendant, glowing under perfect light. He remembered her once saying the jewel brought comfort during long state tours, that old stones remember silence. Now it sat in that same silence, cold, lonely, and stripped of meaning. As Nathan sealed the final evidence crate, one question haunted him. When the Queen Consort discovered this raid, would she surrender quietly, or fight to keep what was never hers? Stay with us. The Queen Consort. Confrontation. The sharp, deliberate click of heels echoed across the gallery floor before she even appeared. Nathan didn't need to look. He recognized that sound instantly. Camilla, the Queen Consort, entered the vault flanked by two aides, her movements measured, precise, and simmering with restrained fury. Her coat, a deep navy trimmed with gold thread, contrasted against the sterile white lighting. Gloves still on, chin slightly raised, she surveyed the room, the open display cases, the camera equipment, the sealed containers, with the cool calculation of a general assessing battlefield losses. "This is private property," she said, her voice slicing through the air like frost. "You have no legal right to be here." Nathan straightened but didn't move. "Ma'am, this is a Crown-authorized recovery under sovereign directive." Camilla's eyes narrowed. Steel and fire all at once. "That pendant was gifted to me personally, as were several of these items. What you're doing is institutional overreach, an embarrassment to the monarchy itself." Nathan met her gaze without flinching. "The monarchy embarrasses itself, ma'am, when it forgets what it's meant to protect." She gave a short, icy laugh. "You're a guard, Sergeant. You don't determine policy." "No, ma'am," Nathan replied steadily. "But I swore an oath. To the Crown, and to the Queen who trusted me to protect these artifacts." Camilla's composure faltered for the first time. "That Queen," she said coldly, "is dead." The words hit the room like falling stones, echoing in the cold vault. Nathan drew a careful breath. That doesn't mean her intentions died with her. One of her aides leaned in, whispering urgently, "Ma'am, perhaps it's best to let them finish." This could draw unwanted attention. Camilla silenced him with a glare sharp enough to stop breath. "Not yet." Turning back to Nathan, her voice dropped low. Dangerous. "Do you really think I don't understand what this is? A power play dressed up as duty? You want to make a spectacle of me?" Nathan shook his head. "No spectacle, ma'am. No press, no cameras, no headlines. We came quietly because someone had to." Her jaw tightened. "These jewels sat untouched for years, gathering dust in vaults no one visits. You think that honors their history?" "They're not decorations," Nathan said quietly. "They're history itself, and history doesn't belong in anyone's basement." Camilla stepped closer, the tension pressing the air thin between them. "You realize this will destroy your career?" Nathan didn't blink. "My career isn't what I'm protecting." Camilla gave a short, hollow laugh. "Noble words," she said. "Utterly impractical, but noble." Then she turned to her aides. "Seal this room. Nothing leaves until I've spoken directly to His Majesty." As the vault doors began to close, Nathan wondered, would truth survive once power decided to silence it? Stay glued? The arrival of the prince. Two estate employees stepped forward, blocking the vault entrance with forced bravery. Nathan didn't flinch. He pressed a finger to his earpiece. Control, requesting immediate clearance authority. There was a brief pause, then a calm voice replied, "Inbound." ETA 8 minutes. Camilla's expression shifted, confusion flashing beneath her fury. "Who exactly did you just contact?" she demanded, her tone sharp and cold. Nathan met her eyes steadily. "Someone who still remembers what the crown truly stands for." Before she could respond, a low rhythmic sound began to roll across the Norfolk countryside. The distant thump of rotor blades, heavy and unmistakable. The noise grew louder, rumbling through the marble floors, like a warning. Camilla turned toward the sound, shoulders stiffening. It was the sound of authority, one that didn't seek her permission. Outside, through the tall windows, the manicured lawns rippled under the wind of an approaching helicopter. The aircraft was unmarked, a muted gray, carrying no royal insignia. Yet its presence spoke louder than any crest could. It descended smoothly into a clearing beyond the rose garden, kicking up a swirl of leaves and petals. No ceremony, no guards, just the quiet confidence of power that never needed to announce itself. From the open door stepped Prince William, dressed in a dark overcoat, followed by two legal officers carrying sealed leather portfolios. His stride was measured, calm, and absolute, the walk of someone who had already decided how this confrontation would end. Inside the vault, the air seemed to hold its breath. Nathan's team had halted their operation but hadn't stepped back. The sapphire pendant, the emerald coronet, and the diamond brooch were already secured in protective cases. Everything else was catalogued and tagged, ready to leave. William entered without a word, his gaze sweeping over the dazzling display cases and the stunned faces around him. "Sergeant Corbin?" he said finally. Nathan stepped forward, spine straight. "Sir, all items located and verified. No damage detected, ready for transport." William nodded once. "Proceed." Then he turned to the legal officer. "Present the decree." The man unfolded an official document stamped with the royal seal. Under Article 8 of the Crown Legacy Protection Act, all personal effects of Her late Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, unless legally transferred by testament, remain under perpetual Crown custody. Effective immediately, all items removed from Windsor Castle are to be returned to royal protection. This decree bears the authority of His Majesty the King and the command of the Prince of Wales. Silence filled the vault like rising water. Camilla stared at William, her jaw tightening. "You think this humiliates me?" she said quietly. "That I'll just accept this intrusion?" "It's already concluded," William said simply. She stepped closer, her voice trembling with controlled anger. "You believe a vault full of jewelry makes the monarchy sacred? It's not the stones that matter. It's the people who wore them." William's gaze softened, but his tone carried unshakable conviction. "Then honor them, Mother. Honor the ones who came before us." As the helicopter's blades began to spin again outside, the question hung heavy between them. Had the true legacy of the crown just been protected or permanently broken? Keep watching. The return of the crown's legacy. For a long moment, no one moved. The only sound was the faint, fading hum of the helicopter's rotors, echoing across the Norfolk sky like a heartbeat slowly calming after a storm. Dust and tension hung in the air. Then at last, Camilla turned to her staff, her face an unreadable mask of composure carved from centuries of royal restraint. "Let them finish," she said. No apology, no concession, just a carefully veiled surrender disguised as cooperation. William gave a small nod, his tone clipped but calm. "Secure everything and return it to Windsor before dawn. Issue a sealed report. This operation remains classified indefinitely." Nathan acknowledged the command with a brief salute. The legal officer beside William paused for a moment as they turned to leave. He glanced at Nathan, his voice low, but sincere. "Thank you. You've just stopped history from vanishing forever." Nathan didn't answer. There wasn't time for reflection yet. He turned back toward the transport containers, his movements steady, his focus absolute. There was still work to be done. By the time the last artifact was packed, the horizon had begun to pale, with the first signs of dawn. The convoy rolled out from the estate in silence. 3 Land Rovers and 1 unmarked van, their engines soft against the awakening countryside. No escort, no headlines, no fanfare, only the quiet purpose of those who knew the gravity of what they carried. The drive back to Windsor was uneventful, but charged with unspoken weight. As they passed through the ancient gates, the castle's silhouette loomed like a guardian watching over centuries of unbroken history. No press waited, no royal announcement followed. Only a lone groundskeeper paused mid-task, sensing the moment's importance without ever knowing why. Nathan insisted on carrying the final container himself. It wasn't about duty now. It was about meaning. The case wasn't heavy, but the responsibility was. He walked the long marble corridor alone, the hush of the vault wing amplifying each step. The air smelled faintly of polish and time. Inside the legacy chamber, dawn light began filtering through the high stained glass windows, scattering ribbons of color across the room. He approached the display case, case 17, where the sapphire pendant had once rested. The cushion still bore the faint impression of its absence, a ghostly indentation like the memory of touch. Nathan opened the case and carefully lifted the pendant into place. The gem caught the rising sun, throwing fractured gold and blue across the marble walls. For a moment, the chamber glowed. He remembered the Queen's voice, soft, deliberate, years ago during an inspection. Not everything precious needs to be seen to be valued. Back then, he'd thought it was simply a sentimental remark. Now, he finally understood. Some things weren't meant to be displayed. They were meant to be protected. The emerald coronet followed, then the brooch. Each piece returned to its rightful place, catalogued, verified, documented. By 7 a.m., the automatic lights dimmed. Every artifact was home again. No press release, no official statement, just quiet acknowledgement among those who served the legacy. A nod from a footman, a murmur from a curator. A young guard outside the chamber whispered, "Good to have it back, sir." At his station, Nathan found an envelope on his desk. Cream paper, unsigned, bearing only one line. Duty fulfilled. Legacy preserved. W. He placed it carefully beside his Afghanistan medal, then straightened his uniform. There would be questions later, political scrutiny, disciplinary reviews, but none of that mattered. The Crown's memory was safe once more. And Sergeant Nathan Corbin would remain standing watch over what could not protect itself. After all, some legacies aren't inherited. They're defended. Should a royal guard raid a queen consort's private estate? Was Prince William right to break protocol to protect royal heritage? Should heirlooms ever leave the Crown's custody? Share your thoughts, like, subscribe, and stay tuned.